All right, so I called Tim and I said, "What are we going to do this podcast on?" And Tim said, "Multifamily," and I said, "Multifamily units? Do you mean like renting out the basement?" And Tim said, "Ask me on the podcast." So Tim, is multifamily the way to go for buying a home in 2024?
Well, that's a great question, Brian. I mean, we're getting a lot of calls and people are saying, hey, I'm having a hard time affording things. And then suddenly we started talking about, we're like, you know what? If you were to buy a 2 unit or 3 unit or 4 unit going FHA or VA, no money down, FHA 3.5% down, not only could you acquire a home,
Yeah.
but possibly acquire a home with rental units. And could you do that in a house that has an apartment built in or an ADU? Yeah, you could.
Okay.
Or could you buy a property with multiple units? And the answer is yeah. I mean, that's people are turning around and saying, okay, how can I afford this home? How can I create passive income? How can I create wealth with my very first house?
I think it's a great idea. I do. One thing does scream out at me when I hear this idea.
What is it, man? Rock it out, brother. We're there. I'm drinking my Celsius right now, man. Tell me.
So, when you're buying a 4 unit property, 2 unit
Yeah,
property,
sure.
generally each property is similar. So, if I'm buying a 4 unit property, I got to live in one of them, and now I'm living in like a 1,200 square foot house. Yes, I have 3 other houses that are making me money,
Sure.
but now I got to live next to these people. I gotta literally live next to them, live
Right.
in the
Right.
same house as them.
Right.
Uh, I don't
So
know if
let's
I
take that to the
love that
next step.
idea as like a young married person.
Okay.
I'm
So
just
how about
imagining.
a
Okay.
young unmarried person? How about, two guys buying a house and creating their own financial wealth? How about realizing that we only have to live in the house 365 days? We're not talking about having to live in the house for 10 years, Brian. 365 days. In fact, we're talking about somebody having to live in the house 8,760 hours. Do you see that? That's all they got to live in the house, 12 months.
Okay. I
So
like
my
this.
point to you is, look, let's take things from a different perspective because everybody's focused on buying one house. And my point is, why not buy a multifamily? Why not buy, a 2 or 3 or 4 unit property? Why not use the rules, which there's huge advantages. I mean, FHA 3.5% down. And by the way, in Washington, D.C., the loan limit goes to 2,200,000 when we go FHA. Or conventional with 5% down.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I
I'm
think it's a
following.
different strategy to take. And you and I were brainstorming the other day saying how hard it is to buy a house. And it struck me like maybe they're buying the wrong house, Brian. Maybe for the first house, we need to take a different approach. We're buying investment. We're making a long-term investment strategy because we don't have kids. We're ready. We want to start building wealth today. We've got the time. We're willing to strike out on our own. Maybe we have parents that want to help with the wealth creation as well. Winner, chicken dinner, right?
All right. I'm sold. Um, I would do it. I would do
That's my
it
point.
because I only have to live there for a year.
There you go. Exactly. Okay, now you ready for this? You nailed it. So we own for a year. Now I'm going to take you to the next step. Ready? We own for a year. Okay. We refinance to drop any PMI off. Right. We get a home equity line of credit, and we begin building our seed money. Now all of a sudden you have not a 1 to 4 unit little project. You can begin taking the money from that house and then seeding the rest of your investments. So instead of starting off life with the small steps, why not take a leap forward, build that passive income today so that down the road you've got multiple houses? And Brian, that's the win-win, man.
All right, I'm in. How many of these opportunities are available in our local area?
So let's define the local area. I mean, we're talking just St. Mary's County, just a couple. I mean, there's no question about it.
Calvert,
Charles
Charles,
County, a
St.
couple.
Mary's.
But I want you to go into the Bright system right now, live. Let's go Bright system,
I'm
and,
doing
and
it
go
live.
and go to the multi-family housing hot list right now. Just go in that hot spot and tell me how many houses are currently listed in the Bright system multi-housing right now in our marketplace live today, right now.
Let me try this.
Can you share the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it, man.
I was not prepared for this.
Hey, that was the
But
whole
it
idea,
does
man.
not
It's okay.
mean, you know what they say, Tim? You don't have to
What's
get
that?
ready if you what? You don't have to get ready if you what?
Always ready. Doesn't matter. I'm always
If
ready
you
to strike.
stay ready, baby.
There you go. There
You
you
don't
go.
have to
Rock
get
it out.
ready if you
No.
stay ready.
Yeah. Okay.
All
And
right.
okay.
Calvert
Go to the
Charles,
bottom.
St. Mary's.
Okay. Now go down there and just put. And by the way, put not only coming soon and active, put pending and closed. I want to see what activity we've been seeing just the last. I mean, just go ahead and play it out, man. You know, you can cover it all. It doesn't matter, right?
All right. We got dose on under pending. Now, if I type in closed past 6 months,
Go ahead. Yeah.
it says dose. I have
Nah,
no
come on, man.
criteria in here,
Well, there's
Tim.
nothing showing on this. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is uncut the counties, because you're not looking at Prince
Okay.
George's County, which has a lot more in there as well. Just take
All
that
right,
out.
let's
Go to the
type in
bottom of the
Prince George's.
screen. No. Just hit on there, Brian. Just hit on just the Bright system in general and find out how many houses are in there. I know where you've got a lot of them in
Well,
Baltimore City.
Bright's like half the East Coast.
Okay.
We could do so PG County had 6.
Okay. But my point is, it's something that nobody's thinking about, Brian, right? What about Washington, D.C.?
Yeah.
I mean, look at Washington, D.C. It's probably going to blow up, right?
Yeah, I don't have, that's a different MLS, I believe. Let's just do Calvert Charles, St. Mary's, and Prince George's. All right. So we got 8.
And add Anne Arundel County in as well, because that's our market.
All right. Now we're going back. We're going to add Anne Arundel. All right. No problem. We're doing this live, guys. This is not, we were not.
This wasn't pre-planned.
All right. Now we got 19. This is not pre-planned. So we got quite a few sold.
19.
2 under, 3, 4 under contract. Let's see what's
got a
available
quadplex there.
That's active.
Okay, I see a Pasadena. You got a quadplex, right?
We got Hyattsville.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
Annapolis.
Okay, there you go.
It's a 2-unit.
Okay.
Prince Frederick, active, multifamily. It says it's a 1-unit.
Okay, but multifamily, that means there's something else in there that we
It's
haven't
1
approached.
leased unit, 2 vacant units, 2 units, month to month, rent control.
What's the sale price, Brian?
$539.
$539, 3.5% down FHA loan. What are we looking at there? Maybe $20,000 down payment. You're going to have multi-units.
See, this is what I was actually thinking. They have this listed like this, but this is really what I was thinking of.
Maybe like in-law apartments, things of that nature.
Pictures. Yeah, exactly. So they have it. Looks like the whole in-law apartments over here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Annapolis, St. Leonard.
St. Leonard. Whoa. St. Leonard, brother. What was St. Leonard? Yeah.
So this is like a triplex post and beam.
Okay, triplex. Dude, that's pretty wild, man. That's my point, Brian. There's opportunities out there. It's just a matter of how we approach it, right?
Yes.
And nobody else is thinking about this. Hey, what about that Annapolis? What's 15 Newman? What's that? Yeah.
That's 1.8 million.
Okay, it's a few more dollars than I might spend. But my point of the matter is there's stuff out there. Now, Brian, live, go to LoopNet. LoopNet. Okay, LoopNet is a commercial site that we go to looking for multifamily. It'll blow your mind when you see this, man. I'm serious.
Yeah, I have an account with these guys.
Okay, I have a public account. Yeah.
I'm not going to log in. Let's just so we're going to say for sale.
Yeah. Yep, for sale, multifamily. Just hit
multifamily.
You got it, man.
And then location.
But Baltimore, Annapolis. Just you want to give yourself a little bit of a range.
Okay. I don't know if it lets me put it again. We weren't prepared for this. All right, nothing in Calvert.
I pulled Baltimore City up. There were a massive amount of properties. There was a 15 unit for $1.5 million. There was a 12 unit for $890,000. I mean, that's my point, Brian. There's opportunities out there. It's just a matter of how we approach it, man.
We got to live there, though, Tim.
Well, if it's a primary, yes,
George
you
do. There we go. We got quite a few here in Prince George. We got 7.
So
36
so
unit
it's just
apartment building, 7-unit apartment building,
wow.
34
Wow.
units, 86 units, and then 1 unit, and then 6 units
So maybe
for
we bring an
960.
LLC together and we buy a bunch. I mean, that's my point, Brian. There's opportunities here where people can look at it from a different approach, and whether it's investment, whether it's going to be a primary, there are options out there for people to consider. And that's my point.
All right. So I think that a more realistic for Southern Maryland might be, let's switch up our screen back to the way we were, is in-law apartments and basement apartments. And this is what I've been talking to my son-in-law and my daughter about, and some other friends of mine that are buying a house. Like, I pretty much kind of present this idea to every buyer that I have.
Right.
And people kind of get a little squeamish about it, but it is absolutely how I would do it if I was going to buy a house
In today's market.
again. Yeah,
Exactly
in
right.
today's
You got it.
market, this is
Yep.
because for me, and everybody has a different perspective. You know,
Yeah.
like I love the investment strategy. For me, what I
Yeah.
might think about is buying a house that's much more than I would normally afford, and be able to live in a much nicer house. So, as an example, if I bought this waterfront house that had a 3-car detached garage with an apartment over top of it that I could get like, $1,800 a month, that
Or
affords me
Airbnb.
yes, that affords me about 200,000 more than I can normally afford, maybe a little more, a little less, whatever.
Exactly.
So if I'm, whatever number I am, I can jump up $200,000. That makes my house or my land, and then when I go to sell it in however many years, it's worth that much more money. That's where I think the opportunity is. So it's like, listen, you buy a split foyer because it's got a separate door in the basement. You can rent out the basement. I think that a split foyer is a great option, a colonial with a finished basement or a colonial with an unfinished basement. That needs a little TLC. Right? You can then build it out exactly how you want to build it out. Obviously, you have to follow all of the county guidelines for how to do that when you're adding living space. If you have a septic tank and whatnot, you have to follow all the permits, et cetera, et cetera. But there are plenty of houses out there already that have in-law suites built into them. And it's not just as a rental opportunity. This is also a situation where, in order to afford the home, I'm buying the house with my parents.
And you nailed it right there.
How many times do we see that?
Well, we see it quite a bit, and we see it in a situation where the parents are like, you know what, I want to get into rentals, but I don't have 20% to put down. You know what? And also at the same time, little Johnny's been living in the basement now for about 3 years, and it's time to get him on his own. Maybe we get him out the door. You know what I mean? And we create a little responsibility, a little bit of accountability. To me, it's a win-win. It's win-win for the parents. It's win-win for the young person getting started out in life. And let's face it, Brian, it is tough out there, but maybe this is a solution that people are not thinking about. You know what I mean?
No, I agree 100%. I mean, this is really what I've been trying to tell people is that, maybe this isn't. So let me give you another perspective on this. And this is what I was telling my son-in-law. This is what I would tell myself if I could do this all again. So this is anybody who's young, who's thinking about buying a house. Here's what I'm going to say.
In today's market.
You're like, what? First, what's the first answer everybody has? Well, I don't want to have anybody living in my basement. Okay, that's fine. Maybe once you start having a bunch of kids, you don't want someone living in your basement, or you want to use the basement for something else. Let's say, okay, that's fine. However, how much money could you get from renting out a basement? My daughter currently rents a basement $1,600 a month. It's, like
$1,600 a month, Brian?
Yeah, it's like 1,500 square foot. You got to walk around through the grass in these people's backyard. You can hear everything upstairs.
That's $20,000 a year, Brian.
It's not perfect, okay, but hold on. So how much more house can you afford with $1,600 a month, Tim? You can just answer the question.
Dude, right there, it's 200,000 plus more buying power, man.
Right.
That's huge.
You can look at it that way, but you can also like pop it back the other way and say, like, now we can afford a house where we might not been able to afford a house, or we can maybe save some money, or this is the only way we can afford the house at all. It's just like, we don't make a ton of money. Okay. So,
sure.
Okay. Now, and husband and wife get together, and this is the situation they're in. The wife does not want, my daughter does not want this to be a long-term solution. So here's my answer. Is there a strong likelihood that in the next 1 to 2 to 3 years, your family's income will increase by $20,000?
Oh, easy. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Especially, I mean, your daughter's just launching out on her own career. Put a little plug in for her. I mean, she's becoming a cosmetologist.
Yeah, she is a licensed cosmetologist down in Leonardtown.
There you go.
If you're
and
looking
her phone
for
number is
up and coming starter. I don't even know what it is. People don't know phone numbers off the top of their head. This is 2024.
Okay. But my point is, you got a valid point. Your income's
they're
going to
make $20,000 more next year.
Yeah,
100%. And they'll make $20,000 more the year after, and probably the year after, and whatever. So,
and maybe she converts that garage into her own little studio business down the road.
Yep. Oh yeah. You do this for a year or two, and then at the end of 2 years, you kick the renters out and you turn that into your basement, and you play video games down there, or you set up your hair studio in the basement, whatever, according to all the local rules and guidelines, of course.
But Brian, I think that's the key. You've changed the perspective. You've said, look, this is how you can afford more house. This is how you can create passive income. This is how you can create a future. You're not tied into one house today.
But it doesn't have to be permanent. This could be a situation. It's a stopgap where it's like, hey, this affords me, a $1,600 less monthly mortgage payment. Like, wow, you know what? This payment's more than I thought it would be by $1,000 or $500. Well, what if you could then get that money back, where now it's like, I feel stressed. Everybody says, well, I don't want to be house poor. Instead of being house poor, now you have a lot of comfort, where now you can afford to get Netflix, and you can afford to get the high-speed internet that you've been waiting on, or whatever it is. And you don't feel stressed out every month, and you have someone who's paying your mortgage for a period of time until you can afford to take a different option. Maybe you keep them, maybe you don't.
And Brian, don't forget too, there might be also additional tax incentives, tax benefits to using that as you want. If you want to declare the rental income, you want to write off certain expenses, it truly can be a win-win. And I think that's the perspective we have to change. It's no longer are we buying that little tiny cottage out in the prairie, right? Maybe we're buying an opportunity for long-term financial wealth. And that's all I'm talking about, man.
And the last thing I'll say about this is, and this is what everybody, it needs to think about, because everybody wants to look at it from these different perspectives. One of the perspectives is house prices are going up, right?
Agreed.
So if your house that you purchased is 20% more than the house you were going to purchase, when you go to sell it, your profit will then reflect that higher purchase price.
Well, and you're not selling a house, Brian. You're selling a business.
Well, 10% of a $350,000 house versus 10% of a $500,000 house, and 20%. If it goes up 20%,
it's huge.
How much more? That's a lot of money. It starts to compound over time.
It does.
And now your house is worth that much more. And then any improvements that you do to your house, like you fix up that basement and make it an apartment, when you go to sell it, people are going to have a desire for that. It's going to raise the value of your house exponentially.
Yep, you got it, man.
All right, Tim. Anything else you want to add to that? Anything else you want to add? I think this is the way to go. So your point, though, is anybody who's thinking about multifamily, and not just a house with an apartment in the basement or in the garage,
up to 4 units, like the financing,
a legitimate like duplex or triplex or fourplex,
or quadplex. Correct.
You could buy a quad. Of course, it's a quadplex with 3.5% down FHA.
5% conventional.
Year.
Yeah, 5% conventional. How much VA?
0%.
You got it, man. Winner, chicken dinner.
All right, Brian. Tim. Appreciate you, brother.
Catch you later, brother. Ciao.